Hugo, how's it going, man? Good to have you. How's your day going?
Very good. Thank you very much. Nice to be here. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Welcome to SaaS Sauce. So if you haven't listened to the podcast before, just a little bit of overview of what we do. We try to help founders of SaaS companies by sharing insights from other founders with them. So we try to take you deep. We try to get you to reveal some of the secrets that you're using to scale your company that you maybe don't want to reveal. We'll try to take you there anyway so we can help out our listeners, which right now it's a pretty small listening, so don't worry too much about sharing too much, Help those guys out, the true fans. I think it'd be
Happy to
great
help.
if you could start by just giving a little background about what Trigify is and how you guys are already helping other SaaS companies scale.
Yeah, for sure. So, Trigify, kind of in a nutshell, is there's a few different ways you could describe it. I mean, the best way I'd like to describe it is basically a social listening tool that allows you to sort of action like the data that you get or the information that you get from social listening essentially like you could call it a workflow builder, maybe a scraper as well in a previous life, but yeah, I think that's kind of that's what we're really kind of focusing on now. We've just released our version 2, which is really kind of all about trying to help companies really like take that sort of traditionally what social listening was, which was like, just like pretty dashboards and tracking how, like quite high level, and really allowing people to like take action on that information, and help them identify relevant conversations and hopefully get some business going. So yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, I think it might be helpful for people who are like me before I learned about what Trigify is to kind of
Yeah.
to give an explanation of what social listening even is and how can you use that to achieve whatever your business goals might be.
Yeah, for sure. So, social listening, in a nutshell, is being able to through like keyword searches or whatever it may be, or like individual profiles, but basically being able to like track, and find posts, conversations, threads. Like we've got like podcast transcripts in there, but being able to kind of like track all of these things for different keywords or whatever it is that you're looking to do, and identify like posts that are happening, and being able to take all that information, and then kind of use it however you want, basically. So lots of people track different things. So some people will just track their own brand if they're big enough. Others will track keywords that are like in their industry and want to just like monitor, like conversations that are just happening generally in their audience, like trends, that kind of thing. Other people just want to monitor their own their own profiles, or like a thought leader's profile, and that's all they want. And they'll either track like if they make a post, maybe we want to action, like if it contains a keyword, or it's like we want to get the engagement off that person's profile because we know those people engaging are potentially interested in like what we sell. So it's a few different layers, and it kind of depends on what you want to do and like what stage you are normally as well. Because like bigger brands will have people talking about them, smaller brands obviously won't. So, but yeah, it's been. I think traditionally it's just been a case of really like throwing in some keywords and just seeing quite high level, like what's like high level mentions or high level whatever it may be. And I think we're trying to now take it quite to be more accessible, and kind of allow people to really, like I said, I keep banging on this, but like taking action on it. And also like from a pricing perspective, like these traditional like incumbents have been 20, 30, 40K big enterprise deals. Like that's like, so that's where they're kind of built for, like the sort of meltwaters of this world. And we have like a usage only pay as you go kind of model. So it's a very different model. It's a slightly different market and all the rest of it. So yeah, and that's hopefully cleared up.
Yeah, I got you. That's super helpful. So I know that you guys kind of started out as an agency and were essentially kind of you had the software internally, and then we're bringing on clients and using it for them.
Yeah.
I want to know. I'm always curious because I think this is a pretty common way that software companies start, where it starts as an agency, they build some internal tools, and then they turn into a SaaS. What was kind of the turning moment where you realized that you wanted to turn into a SaaS, and what did that process look like?
Yeah, well, the agency kind of came about almost by accident, actually, to be honest, because so my co-founder Max, he was posting. Basically, this was like 2 or 3 years ago now, when kind of like the whole like automation and Clay and stuff, it wasn't quite as a thing, but he was basically building like automations and like scraping and that kind of thing on like he was using like Airtable and this kind of thing. But basically, he was just doing them for his own. He was working in sales and was just doing it for his own, like to help his sales. But then was posting it on LinkedIn, and those just started to really like get steam and really pop off. And people were going nuts for it. And so off the back of that, he was getting inbound of people being like, "Can you build this for me?" Yada yada yada. And so we. Like it got to a point where he was like, I can't do this all on my own. Like, can you like help me out? Like, I can't do the customer support and everything else, you know, and just like helping him manage all of it. So he's like, I just need to build, and you can just do everything else. So that was kind of how it came about. Yeah. It's a classic dynamic, I think. But yeah, no. So that's how it came about. So it wasn't like we set out to be like we're going to be an agency. It was just a case of like it just kind of happened naturally, and then we did that for 6 months or so, and got it to a sort of decent place. But we hit an inflection point where it was kind of like, I think we were at like 35, 40 clients, something like that, and like we were just like breaking at the seams because there's only there is just a limit you can do. Like, and we had one other person kind of helping us out, but not like full time or anything. So there is a point where it's like, do you want to be like an agency and you go hire people and like that's your thing, or do you kind of do something else? And we took option 2, but yeah, no, it was a funny one, and the agency model is nice because you get these really like chunky retainers and all the rest of it. And I still to this day, it's easier, I think, to sell like a 2, 3, 4 grand retainer than it is to sell $149 package. Like that's 100%. So having done both now, I know that the pain. So, but yeah, but the main sort of reason was the SaaS, because I mean we kind of knew that, and also what we're doing now is completely not what we were doing at the time. So we were really kind of from the workflows perspective that we were building for that agency, we were building like it was all kind of like trigger based, but like traditional triggers, so like funding rounds, new enroll, that kind of stuff, and it was building people for like a lot of recruiters actually. So that was kind of their thing. But we basically from that turned that into like the platform, and that was kind of how the platform looked initially. Kind of like an AI SDR blend of triggers and all the rest of it. So that's actually how we ended up doing that. But yeah, no, it wasn't. It's been an interesting journey. We've gone through a few iterations, and now we've landed where we are, and I think we're going to stay there for sure. But yeah, the old like a few pivots and all the rest of it. So yeah, good times.
Yeah, I think it's really funny what you say about it's so counterintuitive, but I think it is true that it is a lot easier to sell someone on a $2K a month retainer than whatever $100, even sometimes even a $49 software. So from when you decided to make the transition, was it pretty smooth from there, or it sounds like there are some pivots and maybe some road bumps in between?
Yeah, no, I mean it hasn't. It's taken us a while to get where we've landed. Because when we were making the change, we started as like the AI SDR. Realized that was like pretty fraught with a lot of issues quite early on. I think because you really have to, tools are built to do one thing really well, and like they really nail it, and it's like trying to be like everything to everyone, like data provider, like data validation, outbound, cold email, trying to do everything at once is I don't know. I don't think it really works. So we started life as that, and then kind of moved into more of with the sort of trigger element to it, and then we kind of just like we dropped the ISDR bit, focused on the trigger element. We then did that for a bit, and then we added basically what was the like LinkedIn kind of. We called it kind of LinkedIn like trigger. So the idea was like scraping LinkedIn likes and comments, and like getting that information, and kind of that was like a feature, and then everybody just wanted that, and so and everyone was like, this is amazing, all the rest of it. So we then made the decision to turn off all the old Signal stuff, just focus directly on that. But then that came with its own problems, because that was like pretty high churn. That was just like basically just like that was just like a scraping tool, which is very transactional in terms of like what you can get out of it. So once we did that, and then now we're in the kind of and then from there, what happened was then we moved from like we were in the social world, and it was like, how do we take it from like where we are now in terms of the social stuff and move it to like be a bigger thing or like a better thing. So that's why we've ended up on like the social listening and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's been a interesting journey in terms of just trying to figure out like where we want to land. But I think we are finally there after, I don't know, 2 years.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's great to hear. I'd love to know a little bit about how you've grown the company. Like, how are you acquiring users? I know you were doing, in the early days for the agency, you're doing some cold email. Are you still doing cold email now? I imagine you're dog fooding your own product. Like, what are you guys doing to scale?
Yeah, so cold email is like, I think like everybody else. So doing cold email, LinkedIn outbound. So our like a lot of our data works really well with like LinkedIn or like outbound campaigns. So that is so that's also like an element that we're doing. Content is huge for us. So that's really big. Like, we post all the time on me and my co-founder's page. That's really good for just driving engagement, and also helps when you're doing outbound as well, because obviously people can just see that you're a legit person. So that also helps. Yeah. And then yeah, those are kind of the main channels at the moment, basically. So yeah, no, it's nothing particularly revolutionary, to be honest with you, but and we're dipping into like Reddit now as well, so just getting like Reddit going, really trying to like get into threads and all the rest of it. Like, that's a big thing that I'm going to focus on in 2026, because we've not really tapped into that properly. So yeah,
I think Alex has his face where he like looks like he has a bunch of questions, so I'm gonna hand it over to him. What do you got, Alex?
Because I do, and my questions are always like this exact topic in terms of like how you guys are growing it. I'm just really curious, because I've been playing around with the tool for the last like week, and I've been building out some pretty cool workflows, but I want to know kind of like what workflows you guys are running. We actually just set one up with Reddit, actually, where we get a notification, and then there's like a client that we have that runs he runs like a Reddit marketing agency, essentially, where you can just pay to have comments like within a certain post that you give them, or you can pay to just literally have posts created and then upvote, and essentially you can like do a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm just like really curious to hear how you guys are like using Trigify. Like, what signals are you guys looking for? Are you guys kind of just doing a bunch of keywords within Trigify and then sending somewhere else to kind of narrow it down? Just super curious to hear how you guys are using your tool. This episode is brought to you by Flywheel. So we grew our first SaaS company, Drippy.ai, to over $1 million in revenue relatively quickly, but we had one big problem. It was insanely high monthly churn. Users were leaving left and right, and we had no idea they were unhappy until it was too late. And so that's why we built Flywheel. Flywheel predicts who's going to churn before obvious signs, and then it reaches out automatically via Slack, SMS, email, or wherever your users might be. And so if you're a B2B SaaS founder that's struggling with churn, make sure to check out flywheel.cx. For a limited time, we're running free 60-day pilots, so if you're interested, make sure to book your demo by going to flywheel.cx. Let's get back into the episode.
Yeah, sure. So like, there's a few different areas. So like, I mean, the one that kind of was before the sort of social listening stuff, but like the likes and comments on thought leaders content, and is a really powerful one.
Like go-to-market thought leaders in this case?
Yeah, so it'll be like, yeah, like go-to-market thought leader, Coldy, like all of those kind of people. Because if you get, that's like a big thing for us. So if you can identify like, okay, my ICP, like an ICP customer of ours is, and it's not hard for us, right? Because a lot of the agencies and all the rest of it, they're all making content, and they're like very much a potential customer.
Right.
So that's like, if we're going after that kind of market, that's like a really, really strong like place for us, and has proven really well. And that like combined with the LinkedIn automation is really strong. And then we monitor our own brand. We're also very much like now trying to go down this avenue as well with, which is kind of pushing us into like bigger companies, where it's like we're focusing really on like employee advocacy, because you can do all this and kind of within the tool as well. So really trying to help, because a lot of these companies now are like, we want to get our employees posting, but the big blocker is they don't know what to post, they don't know the topics, yada yada yada. But we can listen to like all of those like different channels, see what's going on, make recommendations on content, and really kind of get into the weeds with that for bigger companies. And like, we just had one recently who was an inbound, and has signed up because they were, that's exactly what they were doing. Like it was funny. We had this conversation like 2 days before this woman's call, and it was like she was parroting what we were saying. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, so that's kind of a big thing for us, I think, to try and get a bit more upstream, and that in terms of how like we're monitoring kind of stuff within like different companies or like different keywords, and kind of seeing like, are these companies posting, like how many employees do they have, all that kind of stuff. Because if we can see that like 2 or 3 posts are coming from one company that's got like 200 people, maybe they're, power of deduction tells you that maybe they're running some sort of advocacy. Maybe they're not, but maybe then there's either 2 ways you can approach it. Either they're running a campaign, either they're running an email advocacy employee advocacy like program, or they're not, and you could be like, oh, I see you've got a couple of people posting like in your company, like why are you not doing this for the rest of your company? Because think of the impressions you can get, so you can kind of guilt them into doing it as well, which is always good. So it's like, yeah, there's two kind of ways to do it. So yeah, that's kind of where we're focusing. So I think, and then we listen to our own brand, and we listen to like other stuff kind of that's just relevant to like what we do, and social listening and all that kind of good stuff, because we keep on top of all of that as well. So yeah, that's kind of the main things that we.
So let me break that down. So essentially, like, you guys are building a list of like perfect ICP, looking at how many people in their company are actually posting, and then reaching out to the higher ups and either telling them like, hey, essentially you can help if they are kind of promoting it like internally, or if they're not, then hey, you guys are missing out on a huge opportunity. We can help with that, et cetera, et cetera. And then the other one, is it commenting, like, okay, someone talks about like outbound enrich with like signals, right? So someone makes a post about that, and then are you guys commenting? Are you guys hitting up everyone that interacts? Are you hitting up the person that made the post? How does that typically look?
Yeah, so on the first question, like with because what Trigify you can do with Trigify is you can technically like create the whole ecosystem, right? So like if I'm a company looking to get my employees to post, I can use Trigify to listen to search, like listen to keywords, listen to whatever you want to power it across multiple platforms, right? I can see what people are talking about. I can see what's like interesting to people. I'm like, okay, use Trigify then to generate the content that all of my 50 employees I want are going to start posting, right? Great. They all start posting. People are engaging with those posts. Okay, now you can use Trigify to grab all of the engagement and pull all of the engagement on all of those posts. And then I could push that. You could filter that down in Trigify, and then I can push that into your CRM. Then the salespeople get involved, bosh, do what they need to do, and get that going. So like that's like the dream. And that was what this customer that came on board was interested in, like building out that whole like sort of ecosystem essentially, because it just kind of makes sense, because there's a lot of companies who like, I speak to people who, even if they're not running their own, I spoke to one like yesterday, even if they're not running their own like employee advocacy, like if they're running influencer campaigns, there's like okay, great, like you're getting all these impressions, but actually like what does it mean? And so if you can actually attribute like, okay, we worked with 10 influencers and we got 1,000 likes across all of those, right? Like get all that information, that's great, but like grab all that information, grab all that data, and find out who actually was relevant to your ICP, and then you should be engaging with those people. So it's also possible. So yeah, that's where like the ideal customer like that we would like dream of would be able to like would be doing that and would want all of that like whole thing going. Not everyone does, but yeah, that's where we want to get to with like our customer base, because the only challenge that we've had with like historically working like up until this point has been we work with a lot of like small agencies, solopreneurs, yada yada yada, very price sensitive, churn very easily, but like also are quite good because they know how to use it, they know how to build workflows, so they come on quickly, they get it. Not hard to sell to them, but they also disappear quite easily. And also they're small agencies, they churn a lot. They churn their own like clients quite easily, which means we churn, yada yada yada. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of where we're trying to get to.
Dude, and one last question to take it even a bit more in depth. So like, for example, this client that you were talking to yesterday, this lady, like whenever you're helping them or you're like consulting, or I don't know if you do, but if you were to consult for them and they asked you like what those emails or those LinkedIn messages should look like, because like in my head, it's either you hit them and then you let them know like, hey, saw you interacted with XYZ's post if it's like an influencer or something, or do you kind of just have it seem like magic? Which one do you typically like advise?
I always steer away from referencing the action just because I find it disingenuous and stupid when someone's like, I saw you, because what happens, and this is because what people do is they'll obviously have gone and scraped someone's profile or whatever that I've liked 3 weeks ago. I don't even remember what I've liked or commented on, and then they're like, I saw you liked Dave's post about whatever. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So it kind of so it throws me off. It kind of throws me off anyway. But like, if you can, I mean, what we used to do a lot, and it was quite good. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, so when we used to run, like Adam Robinson, for example. So you know who Adam Robinson is, right? RB2B, website identification. So the logic is this, which is, like, we know that if people are engaging with Adam Robinson, they're going to know what Adam Robinson does. He runs RB2B. They're going to know what website identification is, and is a way of as a way of generating leads. So we would basically like lead with a message being like, you know, if we saw those people engaging with Adam and they were ICP, we'd be like, hey, like, interested to get your take on how like website, you know, are you using website identification, or have you had any success, like all the rest of it. And then they'd write back and be like, no, it's been terrible, it doesn't work, or whatever, like, you know, whatever their like logic was. And I was like, well, have you considered doing a similar thing, a similar way of finding leads, but on like LinkedIn content versus like your own website, right? And then you kind of get into it like that. So like I know that like there's a level of interest in like that way of finding leads, and I know that they're already interested in it because I've seen them engaging with Adam. So it's kind of there's twofold there, and then the other thing as well is that if you're engaging with people who just like if you find people who are engaging with content, if you're running LinkedIn campaigns, they're an active profile, which means your connection acceptance goes from like 20% to like 50-60% as well, because because the fact that they are logging into their account. So you've got twofold there, which is one, which is like the fact that they're an active profile, and then the second, which is they're showing interest in like a relevant topic. So it doesn't work for every industry as well. Like, there's a caveat. Like, there's lots of industries this doesn't work for, but the one that we're in, it does pretty well. Yeah.
Nice. And last one before Jane takes the mic. So, like, oh wait, actually, I just forgot what I was. Dude, I had like a perfect question. It'll come back to me. Jane, take over.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll jump to a different topic than what you think about that. So I know that integrations are something that are core to your business, and you guys have integrations with a ton of huge names. I would love to know, like, how big of a growth lever is it like to get those integrations, and then how do you go about kind of making those connections?
Yeah, so it's a really like powerful way of growing, I think, because we really try and leverage it, like get the most out of it, because I think the integration is good, and that kind of gives you exposure and all the rest of it, and like we always try and drive like get a webinar out of it, get a push in the newsletter, kind of all of that. Because it just all of that, if you can combine all of that sort of co-marketing effort together, that has served us really well, because it's just exposure at the end of the day, right? And if someone sees your name, you know, on this, and they see your name here, and suddenly they've got to see you 3 or 4 times or whatever it is, sort of like, you know, like start to like engage with you kind of thing. So it's been a really good strategy. We've done that with a lot of we've done it with HeyReach, Smart Lead. We just released instantly like yesterday, sorry. Nice. So yeah, it's a good way to kind of really tap into like a new market of people, because these tools, you know, some of them have a much wider customer base than us, but they're all kind of in the same world. So it's been really powerful. Yeah. So we're making a big effort to kind of do more of that in 2026.
Yeah, I think another thing there's like the implied trust that you get when one of these big names who already has a trusted brand integrates with your company.
Exactly.
It just like they could go to never hearing from you before, and then they instantly trust you because instantly trust them to partner with them. So the second part of the question is we're trying to do the same thing right now with one of our companies, Drippy, is make integrations with some of these big players.
Yeah.
Are they coming to you because they see that you have a great product, or are you outbounding them? How are you getting in touch with them? How are you making these integrations happen?
Yeah, to be honest, like we've been quite lucky with that. I think partly because a lot of the like tools that we've integrated with, their customers already have used us. Because as we know, right, like all this whole outbound thing is, it's not like you rely on one tool and one tool only, right? Like there's multiple tools that all kind of like fit into your ecosystem of outbound, and so I think like HeyReach and whatever, like that was like a natural fit, and a lot of their customers were using their customers were asking like, how does Trigify, like how can I use Trigify in your tool and all the rest of it, and so that conversation kind of happened. And I think with integrations, like it's that does help. And we did have a bit of a leg up with that because Max's like content was quite strong on his profile and all the rest of it, so that did help. So I think they also just saw us around quite a bit. The approach I think which is good is like sort of that we've kind of taken is the sort of, not intentionally either, like, but it was a sort of like surround the castle kind of thing, because like people were just like starting to post about us. We ran some influencer campaigns, our name just kind of was popping up in the right circles, and then eventually like when we reach out to someone, they're like, oh yeah, I've heard of you guys, kind of thing. Because, and a good way to do it is like if you work with like, for example, like if instantly, like let's say we didn't do this, but let's just say like if you were trying to think about how to approach it, it would be a case of like, okay, I would go find and look at like the instantly partners or the instantly experts or whatever they have, because I think most of those guys are posting quite a bit of content, and like if you get posts with those guys, you know that they'll obviously, like the instantly crowd are going to be following that person, and so if you got a few posts and you kind of see your name popping up and that kind of thing, it does just help. I mean, I mean that's. There's not been a strategy behind it. I know you're probably angling for me to give you some nugget of gold there, but there hasn't really been a crazy strategy. It's been a case of just like we've just kind of naturally grown, and then I think we even did some integrations with like just using their APIs and stuff, and then we're like, you're in our tool, we should do some co-marketing kind of thing, because we could do that with a couple of, and then it's like, well, once you're in one of them, once you're in the kind of like sphere of all of them, then, or like one of them that's in a certain like club kind of thing of outbound tools or whatever, then once you're in one, you can start to then tap into the others basically, because you can just name drop and all the rest of it. So there's not been a crazy like there's not been a sort of it wasn't massive, like there wasn't a huge crazy strategy behind it, to be honest.
I mean it sounds like you kind of just, by having a product that was incredibly useful for their customers that they already had, it just kind of becomes a bit of a natural fit. And also I really like the point you made about just, you don't need to wait for if they have a public API, if they have an open API, you don't really need to wait for their permission to just build the integration on your end, and then it's an easy conversation once you already have that.
Yeah, exactly. So like if you were trying to approach someone, I mean, like the best example would be like if you could find a customer of someone that you're trying to sell to, and then like just give them the data for free or whatever, and like create a case study and be like, look at this thing that we did with one of your customers already. Like that's way more compelling, because they can get the value out of it, or they can see the value as to like what rather than just being like, hey, can we do an integration? It's kind of like, okay, like we can see why our customers would find that valuable, or why it would be useful, or whatever it may be. So yeah, that could be a sort of angle to go down, basically. If you can get because a lot, just to sort of say it, like a lot of these like influencers, agencies, all the rest of it, like if you could partner with or get in with one of them, and then like that is connected to whatever tool you're trying to do, and then then there's a facilitated intro there as well, which does help. So you can kind of go through that angle, because then you can just be like, oh, I'm trying to reach XYZ, could you help me out? And he'll be like, oh yeah, no worries, because I'm on their program or whatever it may be, and do it that way. So you just give that guy like loads of free shit, and then just kind of like, and then he'll just feel like obliged, and then obliged to help you, basically. Yeah.
So you're saying the key to success is bribery, essentially. Got it. Okay. That's my,
yeah,
that'd be my
yeah,
takeaway.
yeah.
Alex, did you think of you remember your question, man?
Yeah,
or do you have
dude,
something else?
no, I got it, but I think before we move back to that one, I remember I saw because it goes with this topic now. I remember I saw a vlog, I think it's on the Trigify channel, where it's like, I think it was 4 of you guys that went to like this SaaS conference in Dublin, I think it was, or somewhere in Ireland.
Yeah, correct.
And you guys were doing the like QR codes and pretty much just like putting them all over the venue. Like, have you guys done any other conferences? Because that's something we've never done and we have like no experience with. But just based off of that video, it seemed like it was very like productive, and you guys made a bunch of or like closed a bunch of deals. Typically, like, or at least in my head, it's like, okay, these conferences is where like enterprise deals tend to happen as well, where you build those connections. Has that been a strategy of yours? Like going to conferences, has that happened again?
To be honest, not really. We did that one. We did that one to sort of like test it out and figure out like what they're very expensive to do, right? So that's the one thing. So like once you've like paid for your booth, hotels, flights, yada yada yada, like you're knocking on 10 grand to do one event, right? So which is a lot of money, which like if you land some deals out of it, it kind of covers itself. But I think like truthfully we were maybe like a little bit premature doing it, but it was a really good experience, and we did get some good conversations going. We do have we did get a few deals out of it, which is cool. And we nearly got a big enterprise deal, which would have made it really worth, but eventually it did fall through. So you can get like I think there's 100% value in it. I think you've just got to like, if you're going to do a lot of conferences, you need a proper budget for it, because some can be hit and miss or whatever it may be. But it was really good to do, and and the QR code thing was just basically because the booth that we got was the smallest one there. It was really, you literally turn up and you've paid X amount for like this slither of a booth that like is terrible. It looks like a sort of bathroom stall. And so we just like, we've got to do something that will just like, that will make good content and will also kind of capture just like people's imagination. So yeah, we just like, we did a few different like variations of QR code, and we had a landing page, and then that like said our booth, like where our booth was and all the rest of it. And it was really funny because we did, we did like free beer and then like a QR code, and then so like loads of people went on that one and all the rest of it. And like we put every like a QR code in like every single bathroom stall. And it was really funny because basically like people had paid to like be in the bathroom stall and stuff like that, and then we just came and just peppered ours like all over the place. And then like it was really funny. And then we got told off. We got a big bollocking, because they were like, you can't do this, da da da. And then it was really funny. It was it was good. Like annoyingly we missed the telling off on camera. We filmed everything else, we missed the telling off. I know, it's classic. So but no, it was good because we actually captured a lot of emails, and like people did come over to our booth and they were like, I saw your thing, it was quite funny, da da da, and got a conversation going. So it's definitely worth doing. But I think conferences for sure can be really good. I think you've just gotta, like I said, you've just gotta be ready to spend some money on it, basically.
Spend at least 10K.
A bit selfishly, I'm kind of happy that you weren't like, you guys need to be going to conferences every weekend, because as the introverted developer, Alex has been bringing up, maybe we should start going to some conferences. I'm like, man, that's the last thing that I want to be doing. So I appreciate your answer there.
It's always loaded questions in favor of trying to get on.
Yeah, exactly. He's pushing an agenda over there, and I know exactly what he's doing.
You need to run that question back, dude. Going back to the other topic. So I remember my question. I don't know how I forgot it. But okay, so essentially we were talking about so let's say you run like an influencer campaign, you get 1,000 leads, whatever. Then you have all those guys in Trigify. Like, do you advise people, like, is there a way to qualify those guys and make sure they're good leads within Trigify? Do you advise people to get that sent over to the likes of Clay, Freckle, one of those guys, and then kind of launch like an instantly smart lead, hey reach campaign there, or how do you go about the lead qualification process?
So you can in Trigify, you can like basically do the sort of the filtering down. So we'll grab all the engagements. We'll then be able to distill it and be look at it and go, okay, like they're this job title, they're based here, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. We don't do like the actual messaging or anything like that at the moment. We are going to add that at some point, but so in theory you could be end to end and not actually have to touch it. But so at the moment, a lot of people are basically like they're grabbing the data, they're push through their workflow, they're like having an agent maybe look at the post, make sure it's kind of bang on what they want, that kind of thing, and then from there push it to push it through some filtering within the tool, and then they'll go to like Clay or whatever it may be, because a lot of people have their own the way they like to do enrichment and email enrichment and all the rest of it and all that kind of stuff. They have their own waterfalls that they like, which is fine. So a lot of the data ends up in Clay. So yeah, that's kind of typically where it goes. But in theory, eventually, it won't have to you won't have to do that with our tool. But I think Clay's so ingrained that it's hard to convince people not to.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
It's pretty nuts.
They just hit. I think I just saw this week. They just hit like 100 mil ARR, which is crazy.
No, nuts.
Yeah,
wild. Yeah. For a spreadsheet with APIs, yeah. No, it's funny. It's a good tool though.
Yeah. So a few times early in the conversation, you mentioned churn as being an issue early on. I don't know if it's still an issue now or you've got it down. I'd love to know kind of what you've done to reduce churn and how you're thinking about that side of things, like retaining customers.
Yeah, churn has been a problem kind of throughout our existence. I think partly for a couple of different reasons. So I think what we've definitely seen with people struggled, I think, and they struggled with the workflows. And I think this is not uncommon. This is not just us. So I think it's kind of related. But I think people struggle to see the vision of what they could possibly do with whether it's a social listening search or a work or a an profile engagement or whatever it may be. They struggle to sort of understand this is what's possible with this information, and so we've done stuff from a workflow perspective, for example, and what we noticed when we launched pretty quickly was okay, a lot of people haven't got the first idea how to build a workflow. So we after 2 weeks or something, after the customer support channel was lighting up, we were okay, we built put an AI builder in there. So it's this thing called Jarvis, and Jarvis basically will you just talk to it and it will then build the workflow for you. And that's helped a lot, right? Because that allows people, and we've just put this this homepage, which just it looks like ChatGPT kind of thing. It just you can chat to it in natural language and it'll build it all for you. And so all of that has been really, really good because, NAN and all these kind of tools and all the rest of it, it hasn't really translated. I mean, it is changing for sure, but there's still a massive learning gap, or learning that has to go on for you to be able to build effective workflows in NAN and all the rest of it. And so, and a lot of the people that we were attracting just weren't there, and so the work an understanding how to build a workflow, whatever, wasn't there. So we really just that's kind of what we so that from a workflow perspective, that's what we implemented with Jarvis to really implemented Jarvis to basically try and basically allow people just to build all this stuff really easily and not have to use their brains to get it going. And then churn from the perspective of when we were running profile engagement, all that kind of stuff, we found also just getting on the phone with customers has been was just a really good way of doing it, just good way of, because I said before, our tool is just one in a chain of many, and so it's okay, fine, I get what you do, but I don't see what people used to ask me all the time, so when I push it to Clay, what do I do? When I push it to Hey Reach, what message do I use? when I did what's the best way to like structure the workflow, all the rest of it. So like, even though I'm only here sort of in theory, like, to help you with our tool, I was in people's clay tables, I was in people's hay reach, being like, right, put this here, put that there, write this message. And so that was kind of like
You're running their business at that point.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Which, fine. Like, if you're gonna pay, great. But like, I think that's kind of was the kind of a big barrier, and still is. Like, people still kind of struggle with it. But I think that's been one of the big learning curves with it all. It's like, you cannot just let people loose, because you'll just lose a lot of people and if they even do sign up, they don't get it for a month, they don't get results, and they drop off, right? So, yeah, it's tough. The churn thing is a real killer. So, yeah, it's a pain.
Yeah,
As you also
think that's
know,
a tough thing.
apparently.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was just about to say. With Drippy, we have the exact same experience where it's not just like, does the product work well or not? It's, am I getting results? And that's ultimately how they're making their decision to stay on or not. And at the end of the day, like, a lot of that isn't in your control.
No.
And I feel like the most important thing for that is just trying to educate people and with how to get results from your tool. But there's only so much you can do at the end of the day.
I was just gonna say, I think another huge one is the ICP that we go after, because I think the more up market you move, the easier it is to retain people. But then those guys are also like super cutthroat. If the tool isn't up to par with the agency guys, it's like you're out and they're trying the next tool. So it's kind of a two-edged sword there as well.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do cycle through tools. But you guys, the Drippy thing is interesting because, like, I don't see that as a very, and I might be wrong here, but like, I don't see people talking about that as like a channel, as much as like, it may be just my echo chamber of LinkedIn, but like, I see the standard stuff, the cold calling, LinkedIn, cold email, like all of that stuff people bang on about all the time. I'm starting to see like whispers of like WhatsApp now, like people talking about like WhatsApp strategies and that kind of thing. But I don't think, off the top of my head, I don't even remember people talking about Twitter, or Twitter outbound campaigns kind of thing. So we're
definitely like way bigger on Twitter, just because like,
well, yeah,
one of our main go-to-market efforts was just like a bunch of Twitter outreach, right? And so everyone on Twitter knows who we are. I think the main issue with Twitter, this is something we were speaking about, Hugo, but it's the the fact that there's no LinkedIn sales nav for Twitter. There's no, you can't go into Wizza, you can't go into Apollo and find, exactly, not yet, a little sneak peek right there. There's no way for me to be like, okay, I have Hugo's LinkedIn profile, I have his work email, but I don't have his Twitter handle. I want to reach out to him on Twitter. There's no way for you to find that. So I think like whenever we talk to these agency guys, that's the first thing they say. They're like, okay, cool, like nice tool, but where am I going to get all the data from? And so that I think is the biggest issue. And once that's solved in a couple months, then we're going to start going hard on LinkedIn too, and you'll start seeing us on LinkedIn too.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So people at the moment just like they have to find their profiles manually, right? I guess like just searching. How does it work?
Yeah, so essentially the main way people find other people to DM is kind of similar to what Trigify does, where they just can use the followings of other people and then filter those down. So like, I don't know, let's say you find a big account that, your ICP is likely to follow, then you can filter down by, the follower account, the bio, the keywords in their bio, that sort of stuff. But it's still, at the end of the day, it's far from perfect in terms of especially when you're comparing it to like what you can do with Apollo or Sales Navigator or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fine. Yeah. No. It's pretty. I've never done any Twitter outbound, so I don't know. I don't know how effective it is, but
You
I'm
should.
sure
We'll
best outbound ever. Huh?
No, we'll hook you up with a Drippy account, man, so you can try it out.
Yeah, nice. That'd be cool. That'd be fun. Well, we listen to Twitter in Trigify as well, so we could do some like listening. We do some cool integrations. We could do a little integration.
That's definitely. Yeah, that's it. Wait, yeah. So what listening do you guys do for Twitter? Is it just like keywords, or can you do the same thing as LinkedIn?
Keyword searching. Yeah. Keyword searching. Yeah.
I mean, well, there we go. That might be a play we have to run, Hugo.
There you go, fun integration.
Yeah.
Lots of content on
It's
the back
pretty.
of that.
It's pretty funny as well because I think there was like an inflection in the early days of Drippy where we could be running the same type of company right now, Hugo, because I was experimenting with both these ideas for Twitter. One was the idea of like listening for tweets about a subject and then automating replies to it. And then the other was doing cold DM, and the cold DM is kind of what took off. But I like there's somewhere in my computer there's a super early Drippy version where it was like a bot that I made that would listen to anyone talking about like cold outreach and reply to them saying that they should try Twitter outreach. It was close.
There's a lot of bizarre crossovers going on, isn't there?
Way too many, honestly.
Yeah. I think I've covered my questions, Alex. Do you have anything else?
No, dude.
Hugo, is there anything that we should have asked you but we didn't ask you?
I think you've kind of covered it all, to be honest with you. I don't think there's anything, any other massive pearls of wisdom. I think if it's all kind of, I guess your audience is just generally like SaaS founders, right? Is that kind of the target? I would just say to any SaaS founder, it never goes as well as you think it's going to go. That's what I'm going to tell you, right? So don't be disheartened, and don't also panic when you see someone else who's been around for 6 months and is on 200 million ARR or whatever fucking Lovable did. Don't be disheartened. That's all I can tell you, because we've experienced that ourselves, and like I think there's just a lot of like, I don't know, there's just a lot of BS like kind of floating around on LinkedIn, especially. I think just be prepared, especially if you're really early stage. It's not a linear journey. My God, it really is just like it's been really wild. So it's great fun. It's really fun, but like I don't think it ever goes quite your way, or no, not quite your way, but quite the way you expect. Anyway, that's my pearl of wisdom for you there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to wrap it up because I could not agree more, and I know Alex feels the exact same way.
Dude. Yeah.
So, thanks, man. It's been great to having you. Appreciate it. Where can people find you? Plug yourself. Don't be ashamed.
Yeah. So follow me on LinkedIn, Hugo Millington-Drake on LinkedIn. If you like house music, I'm also a DJ, so you can throw that into the mix if you really want to as well. There we go. If you want to follow on that one. But no, like best place is LinkedIn for sure. So you can just drop me a message there or say hello there. That'd be good. Perfect.
Sweet. Thanks, man.
Cool.
Appreciate
Nice
you,
one.
man.
Cheers, guys.